Figma, a web-based design application. Technically it's free, with paid options for extra features mainly for teams and organizations. It has a clean interface and it's easy to learn. It has a focused set of tools, so you will not drown in endless menus with endless options. You find what you need and only that. It's not a full-blown design app like Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, but it is focused on the task it's made for: creating user interfaces and prototypes. This video is somewhat of an introduction to Figma. We'll jump right in and learn by doing. We'll recreate an app from scratch. In other words, we'll learn by copying an app that someone else made in Figma. But before we start, let's get this out of the way. I am not an expert. I'm just simply studying Figma, exploring UI and UX design, and sharing my experience. My goal out of this is to make indie apps. I want to start by creating a habit tracking app that replaces my manual habit tracking routine. And designing the app and creating a prototype for it is one of the very first steps. I think copying for practice is a good way to start learning Figma and gaining a sense of good UI and UX design. And then hopefully translating this into apps we design ourselves. To start using Figma, head to figma.com and register. In your drafts folder, you'll find some files provided by Figma. One of those is prototyping in Figma. If you can't find it, there's a link to it in the description. This file contains the app we're going to copy. Double-click to open it. It showcases prototyping in Figma, and they have included an iOS app in it. Each one of those is a different screen, and each is designed inside a frame. The app starts from the logged out frame. On the left side we have the layers menu. It includes all the frames and each object inside of them. Above is the toolbar, and on the right we have the properties menu. It shows us the properties of the object we currently have selected. By viewing the prototype properties, we see the connections between the different objects and frames. If we click the play button, we can navigate through the application and understand how it should look like and function. You can share your prototype with other people even if they do not have a Figma account. They can have a look at your design. So in this video, we'll just recreate the first 3 frames of this application and connect them together in a mini prototype. To begin, select the very first frame by clicking on its name, then press Command+C or Control+C on Windows. Click on the name of the current page to show the pages, and press the plus button to create a new page. Then paste the frame inside the page using Command+V. Select the frame tool from the toolbar menu above and start drawing the frame manually. And select the original frame to check its size. You find it under the frame and also in the properties menu. Select our new frame again and adjust its size from the properties menu. We start from the bottom, so put a placeholder for the background image for now. Grab the rectangle tool from the toolbar above. Draw a rectangle in place of the image. Again, select the background image to check its size. It has a width of 375 pixels and a height of 707 pixels. Select our rectangle placeholder again and adjust its size in the properties menu. Press the shortcut key R to get the rectangle tool and draw the bar. Check the size of the original by clicking on it. It is 135 times 5 pixels. Select Hours and adjust the height and width in the Properties menu. Click on the shortcut key I to get the eyedropper tool. It is a tool that allows you to grab any color on your canvas. And click on anything that has a black color. The original bar has rounded corners and ours has straight edges. Let's click on the original to check the corner radius. And give our bar the same radius of 10. The only thing left is positioning, centered by aligning its horizontal center to the frame. To know the distance between the home bar and the bottom of the frame, select the original again, press and hold the Alt key while hovering over the bottom of the frame, and you will see there is a distance of 8 pixels between them. Now select our bar, again press and hold the Alt key, hover over the bottom of our frame, then use the arrow keys to move the bar in place. Press the R key to grab the rectangle tool and follow the same routine. Draw it, check the width and height of the original, select our button again, set the same width and height in the Properties menu. When creating new objects, Figma gives them a default gray color. So grab the eyedropper tool by pressing the I key and click on anything that has a white color. This button also has a stroke around it. So in the Properties menu, you find our rectangle has a fill, which has the color white we just set, and just below it, there is no stroke set. Click on the plus button next to the stroke to add one. The stroke takes space inside the rectangle so it doesn't increase its size, and let's make it size 2 instead of 1. The original button has rounded corners, so select it to check the corner radius, but this button is part of a component which is like a group, so there is no corner radius shown. Either double-click on the rectangle to select it out of the group, or go to the Layers panel and select the rectangle and have a look at its corner radius. Now select our button and give it a corner radius of 6. Now we need to add text inside the button, so select the text tool from the menu above or press the T key and write login inside our button. The font is Roboto, black, size 13, and the letter spacing is 4%. So check the original type to make sure they are the same. By pressing and holding the Shift key, we can select multiple items. Select the text and rectangle while pressing and holding the Shift key, then align their horizontal center and their vertical centers. Since there is a bit of space below the text, you might need to nudge it down a bit using the arrow key. Now select them again and press Command plus G to make them part of one group. And give the button a name to keep the Layers panel organized. Finally, check the distance between the button and the frame by selecting the original button and pressing and holding the Alt key while hovering above the frame. Select our button, press and hold the Alt key, and use the arrow keys to push it in position. The arrow key moves an object by 1 pixel. If you hold the Shift key while pushing it, you can move it 10 pixels at a time. To create the Register button, press and hold the Alt key while grabbing the Login button to copy it. Change the text to Register. Choose the rectangle by double-clicking or from the Layers panel, and change the fill color to black. And select the text of the button from the Layers panel and change its fill color to white. Again, check the position of the original Register button by selecting it, pressing and holding the Alt key, and hovering to get the distance, and select our register button, press and hold the Alt key and use the arrows to push it in position. Next, we will create the avatar, name of the user and username. This whole group is made up of 4 things: 2 text boxes, an image and a circle. First thing to do is check the size of the circle by double-clicking on it till it is selected. And in the properties menu, you find it has a width of 28 pixels. Go to the shape tools and press on the drop-down menu and grab the ellipse tool. Draw a circle by holding the shift key, then give it a width of 28 pixels. Press the T key to get the text tool and write the name of the user. Copy the text box right below it by grabbing it while holding the Alt key. Then check the font and its properties and set it to our text. To place an image, go to the Shape Tools drop-down menu and select Place Image. Select an image from your computer and place it above the circle. Select both the image and the circle by pressing and holding the Shift key while clicking on each. Right-click on the circle and select Use as a Mask. Now the circle will act only as a mask. It will allow only the parts of the image within it to be visible, giving the image a circular shape. Now you can move or resize the image inside the circle. Check the distance between the circle and the text boxes by selecting it, holding the Alt key and hovering over the text boxes. There's 8 pixels between them. Select our circle, press and hold the Alt key, hover over the text boxes, and use the arrow key to nudge it in place. Finally, select all 3 by holding the Shift key and clicking on each, and make them one group by pressing Command+G. Name the group, then adjust the distance between the group and the frame. You don't have to remake the logo, you can use any icon in its place. But since this one is simple, it would be a good exercise. This logo has 2 main parts, the icon and the text. Zooming in and double-clicking the icon, we can see that it is made up of one single rectangle, duplicated and rotated to create the icon. This rectangle has a width of 38 pixels and a height of 11.26 pixels. We'll start by creating a similar rectangle. R key to get the rectangle tool. Draw it and give it a width of 38 pixels and a height of 11.26 pixels. Duplicate it by dragging it while holding the Alt key. Hover to one of its corners till you see the rotation tool and rotate it while holding the Shift key to constrain its movement and make sure it is straight. Put the rectangles together. Select them both by holding the Shift key for multiple selections. Then from the toolbar, select Union Selection to make them part of the same shape. Copy this shape and rotate it from the Properties menu by 180 degrees, give it a color black and put it in place. Take a look at the original icon and notice the difference between it and our shape. The upper right corner is pulled down and the lower left corner is pulled to the right. Get back to our shape. Keep double-clicking on it till you see the nodes, till you see the corners turn into circles. These nodes you can move individually without affecting the other nodes in the shape. Move the upper right node down till it meets the edge of the gray rectangle. Then adjust the gray shape as well. Then repeat this whole process again on the bottom left corner of our shape. We need to grab the color from the original icon, so select the left part of the icon. This shape does not have a solid color. It does not have one color throughout the shape. It has a linear gradient of 2 colors. So we need to copy both of those colors. To copy the first one, select it and copy its hex code using Command+C. Get back to our shape, give it a linear gradient, and select the first color in this gradient, and paste the hex code we just copied using Command+V. Copy the second color of the gradient and paste it, and make sure to move the opacity of the second color to 100%. Finally, group our shape and name it. Then press T to grab the text tool and write photo. Since we recently selected the text of the original logo, Figma gave it the same properties. Check the distance between the icon and the text and set it. Group the text and icon and name them to remain organized. Finally, check the position of the original logo by selecting it and holding the Alt key, and apply the same placement to our logo. To finish off this frame, we need to add a background image. You can grab one from unsplash.com. I searched for liquid pattern, found one I liked and copied it. Select the background placeholder and press Command+V to paste the image. Before moving to the next frame, clean up things. Delete the copied frame. Name the things we forgot to name: the frame, the home bar, and the background image. So when we have a look at the layers panel, we know what everything is. First, go back to the main page, copy the register frame and paste it into our page to start working on it. Press the F key to grab the frame tool, then choose an iPhone Pro X frame from the presets and name it before you create a mess in the layers panel. The status bar and keyboard are standard part of the iOS design, and there is no need to recreate them from scratch, but we will deal with them later. So for now, we'll put placeholder rectangles instead. So press the R key to get the rectangle tool and start drawing the status bar. Again, select the original, check its width and height, and adjust them to our rectangle in the properties menu. Grab the rectangle tool again by pressing the R key and draw the keyboard, and again check the size and set it. Usually iOS has a standard back button that looks something like this. But this is a custom back button, so we can make it. Grab the pen tool from the menu above, or by pressing the P key. We want to draw the body of the arrow first. Place the first node and the second one just before the curve. The last node, go down by 6 pixels and place it. Then drag downwards to create the curve. Press the V key to deselect the pen tool and select the move tool instead. Then drag the other node outwards a little bit to adjust the curve, while holding the Shift key to keep a straight angle. Press the P key to select the pen tool again and draw the upper side of the arrow. Before drawing the rest of the shape, you need to deselect the pen tool, click on an empty space to deselect the node we just drew, then grab the pen tool again and draw the lower part of the arrow. Now that we're finished, cut the shape, Command+X. Select the original button, press and hold the Alt key and hover over the frame to note the distance between it and the frame. It's 17 pixels to the left and 51 above. Paste the button into our frame and set the distance. Again, while pressing and holding the Alt key to see what we're doing. And we're done with the back button. Press the T key to grab the text tool and write register. Figma didn't do its magic this time, so we have to do it ourselves. The font is Comforta regular size 36 and the letter spacing is -1.5%. So set those to our title. And again, the placement routine, select the original, press and hold the Alt key, hover over the frame, note the distance, select our object, press and hold the Alt key and set the same distance. To draw the text boxes, grab the rectangle tool by pressing the R key and draw it. Press the I key to grab the eyedropper tool and give it a white fill color. Add a stroke size 2 inside. Then check the size of the original text box and set ours to 343 pixels times 52 pixels. Grab the text tool by pressing the T key and write the email of the user. Then make sure the font is properly set. Check the spacing of the text inside and apply it. Group the text and the rectangle and name the group. Finally, check the placement of the rectangle and set it. To copy this text box below it, press and hold the Alt key and grab it. And to add these large dots, use the Alt+8 for Mac. Set the distance to 16 pixels between the two text boxes, and since the button that we have looks exactly like the register button, we'll copy it by dragging it while pressing and holding the Alt key. Again, we'll check the size of the original and set it in our properties. We will align its horizontal center to the frame and leave the same spacing of 16 pixels between it and the text boxes. To get an iOS status bar and keyboard, we will search the community files. Press on the Figma icon at the top left corner of the page and choose Back to Files. Then choose Community. The community contains files created and shared by other Figma users. In the search bar above, I write iOS status bar. I choose one of the files that seems to have what I'm looking for. I look through the pages of the file to make sure it has the status bar I want, and it does, so I duplicate the file. It will now be one of the files we have in our drafts folder. So copy the status bar, get back to our file and paste it, then delete the placeholder, and repeat the same process for the keyboard. Delete the original register frame. Go to the main page of our file and have a look at the login frame. It is exactly the same, except that it says login instead of register. So get back to our page, duplicate the register frame by dragging it while holding the Alt key, rename the frame to login, double-click on the register title and change it to login. And make sure you don't mess up the title's position. Select it and hold the Alt key to check and nudge it in place using the arrow keys. Now we'll create a prototype. The first thing we need to do is to make the register button clickable. So we'll select the register button, and in the Properties tab, we will select Prototype Properties instead of Design Properties. A node will appear next to the button. Click on it and drag it to the frame we want to move to when we click this button. We can choose the type of animation and what action triggers it, but leave the default for now. We want to be able to click on the back button to get back to our frame. We can either connect the back button to the logged out frame, or we can just choose the action to be back. Again, we want to connect the login button to the login frame and set the action of the back button to back instead of none. Connect the logo as well to the login frame. Before we play the prototype, click on the canvas and select the device where the prototype will be shown to be an iPhone Pro X. Finally, play the prototype and see how the app would look like on a real device. Click on the buttons and navigate. This looks great, exactly like we want it to. But if we resize the frame to an iPhone Pro Max, for example, the design breaks. We need to make our design more responsive, and we'll do this next time. We will use auto layout and constraints to make the design responsive.